Hi, welcome back to the A&S Way, and today we're actually filming two videos very much based around Ant's favourite topic of finances, but it's mainly because we've had a few people messaging us asking for dedicated videos on how we manage finances, mortgages. So in the other video we covered some of the questions around can you get a mortgage, which lender, so go watch that if you haven't already. And this video is very much about how do we manage finances in the US versus the UK with our properties where we're earning money, and just answering some of the questions. First question we had was around building credit in the US and how do you go about that with Nova Credit. So one of the questions we had was that this person was trying to get a Nova Credit report but couldn't seem to get the report without applying for the credit card for Amex. Now this is where, and I've mentioned this in the other video, this is where I would say to apply for an Amex credit card and get that Nova Credit. And why is that important?
There's a couple of reasons. Firstly, and let me start with saying, a lot of people have this issue around using credit cards. Credit cards are the best thing that you can use for credit, in my opinion, to build your credit up, rather, in my opinion. The more of them you have and the more you rotate money through them, the better your credit, because it shows good payments. The way I use the way we both use our credit cards is everything we buy, from petrol, gas, groceries, food, hotels, cars, yeah. Everything goes on a credit card, and then I usually pay it off 3 days later. But
even subscriptions.
Subscriptions go on there, our gas, electric, yeah. And then I just pay it off before the end of the month, usually within 2 weeks. And I was able to get my credit from whatever it starts at in the US to low 700s in like 9 months just by doing that. And I mean, we do put a lot of money through there, but it doesn't matter whether you're not, you're just building that up. So what Selena's saying about using Nova Credit, get the credit card if you can. One, that would be great, because then you can start building up your credit. Two, even if they don't approve you for the credit, you get the free credit report, which you can then use to go to mortgage brokers and say, this is what my credit looks like.
So definitely worth doing. Now, a lesson learned for me in the first year was when we moved here, I think Ant was out more than me, and you were doing the shopping, and there was a big difference in how much Ant was spending versus what I was spending on the credit cards. And this did come to bite us a few years ago, actually, when we was possibly looking at something called a jumbo loan. And this is where the fact that my credit score was lower than Ant's, and also below a certain minimum that you needed for jumbo loans.
But the reason it affects us is they take the lower score. So my score at the time, after 9 months of being in the US, or 10 months of being in the US, was 711, and Selena's was 686.
My lowest score. So even though I did have some scores over a 700, they take the lowest.
The lowest of the lowest person, which was unfortunate because Selena was the one earning all the money.
Yeah, I've got the lower credit score.
Yeah, so my suggestion around that is apply for a credit card as soon as you possibly can. If you don't get that one, apply for a different one and just start using that credit.
And honestly, that's something that we did right away at the beginning. We tried many different companies to get credit cards within the first few weeks. So as you are transitioning from the UK to the US, definitely look into various options of credit cards. One of the other questions we got was, how do we manage money earned in the UK versus the US? And I'm guessing the question is really around the bank accounts. As the money builds up, how do we transfer the money? If we do we leave it there? What are the tax implications of that money?
Do you know how we manage them?
You manage them.
Yeah. It's really simple, super simple. We have a tax treaty. When I say we, am I talking American, US? UK and the US have a tax treaty with each other, so you can't be double taxed. And if you do get double taxed, you can claim it back through various ways. So for us, we have money earned in the UK, mostly held in the UK. I have put it into some stocks and shares here. But the stuff that's held in the UK just sits in a bank account. That's it. And we use it as and when is needed, when we have to pay whatever house charges, or I was going to say HOA. We don't have HOAs. What do we call it? Service charge. That's
rent, things like that.
We use it like that.
But it's very convenient because, number one, you still want your bank accounts in the UK. We travel to the UK quite often, so it's really useful just having your UK bank accounts to use when you need it as well.
In terms of the accounts specifically, First Direct allow you to change your address to a US, and that's about it, isn't it? I think HSBC did, but oh no, HSBC didn't. We had to use a First Direct account.
So this is the thing. So only certain UK bank accounts allow you to have a US residency or a US address attached to that bank account. So that's just one of the things that you'll have to check into with your bank accounts. I think we just made sure to use all the bank accounts that would allow the US address where possible.
Yeah, that's it. So this is a case of just check with your bank, and if they can't do it, especially if it's within the HSBC group, they'll tell you who can help you. And if not, just look online and they'll tell you whether or not you can have a US address. In terms of tax implications, this is one of the beauties of the US, and I love their tax system. You declare at the end of the year all of your income. So once you are considered a US tax resident, which I can't remember what it was, 180 days if you spend more than that in here, any earnings you have across the world, you must declare to the US, and the US will tax you. Now for us, that means about half the tax that we're usually expected to pay in the UK. So we just tell them all of the earnings that have come in, less all of the expenses that have gone out in the UK, because you can offset your expenses when it's considered a business, and then they just tax you the difference. So for us, that looked, I think last year, our tax was around 19% total tax on our income, which was crazy.
Lower than what we used to.
Yeah, so it's worked out in our favour. It's, in my opinion, really simple to do. It's very long. The filling this in can take weeks, and I think we've done a video on this.
We did do a video because I did not enjoy the process, and we had Deloitte helping us with our tax return this year. And actually, we've got them. So what you can do in terms of preparing for this, you can get a company like Deloitte that will take care of your taxes for the UK and the US. And that's part of my package that I got with my relocation, was that Deloitte would facilitate that process. So if in doubt, I would say just look to your tax attorney.
I wouldn't even say if in doubt. I would say because it is so different, consult a tax attorney, and they will tell you what you can and can't do. Even I asked what are seemingly silly questions because I would know the answer in the UK, but just to make sure here. In terms of what that actually means, as in the money that we have in the UK, what did that mean? You have to just keep a record, which is something you never do in the UK. So you have to have a record of, did you rent a car to go and check on a house? You need a record of that. Now, they won't ask you for the receipts, but you do need to keep a record, because if in 5 years they decide to have a look into your account, they're going to expect you to be able to produce that. An example is one of the homes that we sold, a lot of work was done in it before it was sold. So we had to keep a record of everything that was done. So that, I can't remember how much was done in the end, like £13,000. You have to keep a record of that. And then you can just say, this is how much I spent, this is what it was spent on. It's essentially an Excel spreadsheet, and then you get tax relief on that.
The other aspect is declaring all your bank accounts that you have. So something that, and I think I did mention this in one of the videos from last year, was doing a bit of a tidy up before you leave. I wouldn't have bank accounts just for the sake of having a bank account. So close the accounts that you think you don't need, because once you're over a certain amount of value in your bank accounts in the UK, you do have to declare all of the
currently $10,000, and this is a tricky
at any point in time. That's the thing. So it's, as long as it's just essentially any point in time, then you have to declare it. So it's just easier. I think I consolidated some of my pension accounts in the UK into one, so I didn't have to fill out the bank account details twice. So little things like that will just make things a lot easier for you when you're managing both.
Oh, you just reminded me of something. You do have to declare your pension value as well. I don't think it has that much effect. I can't be 100% sure, but they have to know the value of any savings, pensions, ISAs, shares. They require that you disclose this on a federal form. Even if you don't get taxed on it, you have to disclose all of that. So although it's relatively easy in terms of you're just filling in a set of numbers and information, it is really long.
It is really long, and which is why it's much easier just to get another company to help facilitate that process for you. The other question we got was, what are the best bank accounts, credit cards, bank cards to use? I'm guessing, I'm not sure if this is in particular to the UK or the US, so I guess we can answer.
Can answer both. I would say First Direct in the UK has been really good, and there's a number of reasons for that. Firstly, their online system is not the fanciest, but very slick, does exactly what you need to do. Their customer service is amazing. You can call them pretty much any time. And if I trigger a fraud, they phone me within about 10 minutes, no matter what the time is. Was this you? Yes. And it's sorted out nearly instantly. So they've been really good. You need to change an address. They'll send you the form that you need to fill in to say that you live in another country, so you don't have to pay tax there. For us, I think that's worked out really well.
Yeah, I absolutely have no issues with banking with First Direct. I've banked with them for years, and they've been great with the transition to the US as well.
In terms of the US, the first thing is the original point that I made. Firstly, get a credit card. Doesn't matter what one it is, get a credit card and use that credit card. You're going to need the credit. Everything here is based on your social security number and your credit. It's like you're a number in a system, and until you get those things up, till you get a social security, you're nobody. And then once you've got that, you kind of need to have good credit to do anything here. So I would say get a credit card first. Try and get one with whoever you're going to bank with. Originally we were going to go with Wells Fargo because that's who your company originally tried to set us up with, and then they wouldn't do it.
There was an issue with getting an appointment. So our bank, we bank with Bank of America, and that was just who we ended up getting an appointment with, and that took about half a day to open the bank account, physically go to the bank. But in that sense, I would say any of them, whether it's Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, any of them, just open the bank account with whoever's convenient. A lot of people will say it really depends on where you are and your town. So in the UK, it really doesn't matter. First Direct, Barclays, Halifax, you're not really thinking about who's on your high street in the UK. Here, they will say, have a think about what banks you've got access to.
Because you will need to visit them. It's still, every time I have to go to it, it's still shocking to me that you physically have to go into a bank here for lots of different things. We happen to have, not that we knew it, a lot of Bank of Americas close by.
Yeah, and in that sense, I would just say go for whichever is the most convenient. I personally have no complaints about Bank of America. I think they have quite a good app service in terms of the app that you use on the phone, and anything that we've ever really needed from them, it's worked out fine. We try and avoid going to the bank as much as possible.
Yeah, there's a lot of positives and negatives, I would say, about Bank of America, but we have nothing to compare them to. So I don't want to say they're good or they're bad because I don't know what the baseline is. I would say I agree their app is better than any app I've used for a bank. It is really good, and it has a really clever help feature where you can just type in what you want and it will take you directly to that action. And it doesn't matter whether this is an action you need to do in the bank, an action you need to do with somebody on the phone, or an action within the app. It's really slick. I have had issues with them when I'm speaking to their call center operatives. I think I've maybe done 10, 12 calls. Yeah. I think I've had one competent person, and this is for really basic stuff. So I've struggled with them in that aspect. That may just be US banks, I'm not sure. Because the UK banks outside of First Direct aren't that good at either.
Yeah, exactly. So and like Ant said, we've not had experience with other banks, so we can't really say. The other thing I would say you've just made me remember is often when you're moving from the UK to the US, everyone will say, well, just open a HSBC account. That's great because because you can get your mortgage, your credit cards and everything set from before from the UK. Yes, you can. And I think a lot of UK people moving to the US have decided to do that. You won't find that very helpful. Now, of course, you can still bank with HSBC here. You will get the cards and everything, but they're not around. And this is the problem.
I've never seen a HSBC.
Yeah, and eventually everyone realizes that you're better off just getting a bank account open with a local one rather than doing HSBC. And the other, I would say, myth with that is people will think, oh, I'll bank with HSBC because I can have my UK bank account with HSBC and then my US bank account, and then transferring money between them is really simple and cheap. It's not. It's actually more expensive than using TransferWise or Wise.Back. I think
that's a good point. We didn't answer that. So that is how we get our money from the UK to the US. We use Wise amazing service, cheap for what you're getting, and fast. It takes me between 12 and 48 hours to get the money, depending.
And they have offers that you can sign up to as well, and it's quite easy to use on an app or on your laptop. So I would say just don't be fooled by the rates of HSBC because it's never really that much cheaper.
Yep. What else do we have?
I think that was it. How do you manage money earned, taxes, implications, best bank cards, credit cards, bank accounts, no for credit. I think the only thing I would say... Okay. The last thing I would say on banking, and especially if you're going to be travelling back and forth between the UK and the US, or just travelling internationally, just have the right bank account for you in the UK, because you're still going to want to spend UK money when you're in the UK. But also having a good credit card with no transaction fees or foreign fees when you're traveling. So it's something I always advocate for. So in that suite of credit cards that we're recommending that you get, just have one that's good for traveling as well.
And that can be any one, because Amex do it, Chase do it. I don't know about Bank of America, but I know Chase and Amex definitely do.
Bank of America do have one as well. So I would always get one that's good for when you're purchasing items in the US, but also one that's really good for that, so that you could use UK money, or you could use your US credit card in the UK when you're traveling.
Which is a bit difficult with Amex, which is one of the best in the US, but obviously we don't accept it everywhere in the UK, which I found when I went back 2 trips ago.
Yeah, which is the annoying thing. But you always have to consider the fact that you're probably going to need access to money in both locations.
Hopefully you found that useful. If you do have any further questions, let us know in the comments below. I don't read them anymore, Selena does, and then she tells me. So thanks for watching.